morning. I'm Jen Hurd, and welcome to Thrive Through Life Change, the event where we're going to learn how to regain powerful energy and create an inspiring vision and a balanced life, in spite of everything going on in the world right now. I'm a professional organizer, and I have been for 30 years, and I decided to create this event because over the years, I've had client after client, one-on-one, who would go through major life changes, and some would go through better than others. They'd come out the other side with a glow, or they would not. And so what I decided, based on my personal experiences, as well as having worked with all these various people, is that I wanted to pull together a team of experts from all over the world who can show there's really no major life change that you can't overcome. And these experts are going to discuss things they've overcome and ways that they did that and things they discovered along the way. So one of our really interesting and new discoveries is from Jen Thoden, and Jen's our guest today. And she's a vlogger, an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, and Mother of the Year, of course. Aren't we all? And her mission is to help women transform to happier versions of themselves by being true and authentic. And she has a book called That's My Color, Discover Your 5 Signature Colors to Transform Your Life. And it's been an Amazon bestseller, and it talks about her personal story where she went from depression and divorce and losing a child, in fact, to success and happiness. And her expertise in color really shines through this, as she helps the audience to find their true colors and their authenticity. She's very passionate about that. And she's also the founder of Your Color Style, which is a color system comprising color palettes and products that help women over 40 discover the colors that really make them shine. So Jen's been on a number of different media outlets, and she has all sorts of interesting and fun products to try on her website that help you to learn these skills. And so I really wanted to talk to her about this really neat and sort of cutting edge way to find your true self. So welcome, Jen, from Virginia.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So we've had a little preliminary conversation. I was really excited to talk to you today and share you with the audience. But you really have had your share of unexpected life changes that were less than desirable in big cases. But you really took on your challenges, and you really went through and found out your inner strengths and things that you could do to turn that into a way to help other people, which is, I love and respect so much about that. So I really wanted you to describe your experience to our audience a little bit, and maybe just share a little bit about what you learned and how you started out with this.
Yeah, definitely. And that was quite an introduction, so thank you for that.
I know I have lots of facts. I have so many facts.
Some people don't know what they're getting into, and they ask me the big question of, tell us your experience, and then it's all, oh my God. But no, let me share a little bit, because it's really part of the whole journey of how we get to the part about color later on in this conversation, right? And so as you mentioned, I had lost a daughter, and it's been actually quite a while now. She would have been 22 in December.
Okay.
And so and we lost her when she was 9, so it's what, 13 years now it's been. But that time of my life is a really, you can only imagine, a whirlwind of emotion and stress. And so when we discovered, she had just turned 7, and we were living down in Texas, and with my husband at the time, and her other 2 siblings, Matthew and Mindy, who are now 18 and 20 and all grown up. And we were living in Texas when we discovered that she had cancer. She had bone cancer called osteosarcoma. She had been limping just before her 7th birthday. And, we kind of thought it was like a pulled muscle, or she fell, or maybe she looked like a fracture or something like that. And so,
Right.
you don't expect to hear that your child has cancer. It's one of those moments in life and in time where everything kind of just pauses, and everything shifts to doing whatever it is that you need to do to make her better. And so you go into this mode of action and aggressive action, right? You're going to do whatever it is you need to do to make sure that she's happy, she's comfortable, she's going to get better. And you forget, everything else kind of tunes out. And so this went on for a little over 2 years of hospital stays and sickness and surgeries and chemo and all the stuff that you don't really want anybody to go through. You certainly don't want a child to go through or a family to go through. And during that time, I mean, I still have really deep, dark thoughts of just all that went on during that time. And it was all about Kelly. It was all about Kelly, about making her comfortable. Is she okay? And then if it wasn't about Kelly, it was about the other two. Are they okay? Are they happy? I needed to make sure that my husband could still go to work, and believe it or not, I was actually running a business at that time as well.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Not the same business, but I've always been an entrepreneur. And so that's a whole nother story if you ever want to dig into it. But I was doing that too. And so I was obviously running on fumes, and it was just a lot. So when Kelly died at just past her 9th birthday, there is a moment where, people would say things like, I don't know how you're doing it, how are you getting through it? It would just kill me, and all those things. And I think at that point, and when something that traumatic happens, thinking back on it, my mindset even then was sort of like, well, how do you not continue? How do you not go on? And I wasn't necessarily in a pursuit of happiness at that point. I was in a pursuit of sort of survival and moving forward. I had 2 other children, which I'm always and forever grateful for having them, because they gave me purpose when at that time I could easily see how people may not want purpose. They just want to sink into this despair. And so Matt and Mindy were my purpose. And I kind of went through this whole phase of we all need to be together as a family. Let's do all these things. And so we started to fill that void with all kinds of stuff. I mean, Taekwondo as a family and vacations. And it was just, just trying to stay busy. And I don't judge that time. I think people do what they need to do to kind of get through a really quiet phase in a way, because everything got really quiet. So we moved back to Virginia because that's where our family is. And the strain was still there. And, my marriage did not survive. And I don't necessarily say it's because we lost a daughter. A lot of people would assume that. And maybe it was a part of it. Our foundation maybe wasn't strong enough to handle something that upsetting and stressful. But nevertheless, about 3 years after we moved back from Virginia, during that time, I ended up selling my business, thinking that would make things better. The stress of being self-employed was putting financial stress on the relationship. And so I sold that. And then, I went back to work, and things just didn't really go well. And so I left. And so we're obviously divorced now, but that is pretty much, I think, at that time of my life where things sort of shifted. I remember we had just moved into my townhouse, and the kids were, I think it was right before Christmas. I tell the story a little differently every time because I can't remember if it was right before or right after Christmas, but it was just like a lot of boxes, and I know it was in December. And I remember I was in my living room, and there was boxes everywhere, and the 2 kids were at their dad's. And I think it might've been the very first time that I had stood still, because it's always something. And when you suddenly kind of face yourself in this place where there's no one else to do something for, there's no husband to try to make happy, or relationship to try to fix, or a child to make happy. Like, it's just me, myself, and I. And it was a really, really uncomfortable place to be for me. I just had this tremendous sense of loss of Kelly, loss of marriage, and really just loss of self. I was like, oh my God, here I am. I know how I got here. And yet I just completely had this connection between who I really was. I had been living on some other people's terms and doing things for other people for so long that I just had no idea anymore who I was and what I like to do, and I was always kind of defined by what somebody else wanted to watch on TV or do in their spare time. You know what I mean? And so
many moms, probably feel the same way. With or without the loss, you're just constantly giving of yourself so much. You just forget.
And I think that I had just exhausted the the tank, you know, and
Right.
and I knew, and I was very grateful too to have that time to myself, because I don't even know necessarily if I would have listened. I would just kept on going, right, until you just sort of
Sure.
crash. And I think that was my crash. And that is when I started to go, okay, it is now, I need to do something. I need to do something to be happy, because I'm not happy. Like,
Right.
divorce doesn't make you happy. Leaving some, you know, it's all these things where you start feeling guilty, and did I do the right thing, and all this second guessing, and oh my goodness, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So I knew that I needed to figure out, I knew that there's a step in there on how to, I got to figure out what I like, who I am, and all that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
Who's this here?
yeah, exactly. Right. And so I started to kind of like, okay, what do people do with it? Like, I literally Googled, I think, how do you find yourself?
Oh, did you really? That's awesome.
I was like, you just don't know what to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I knew that I wanted to start another business, but I didn't know what.
Yeah.
I was a little afraid, you know, I had a lot of voices in my head at that time. And so I came across, I don't even remember how I came across it anymore, but I came across this life coaching program.
Okay.
And it was really life-changing for me, because it was first like a 90-day thing, but it was basically a year-long program. And the first thing that we did, the first exercise that we did, was to figure out what your mission and vision statement was, which was like,
Oh,
what?
right. Yeah.
Wait, what is that? I don't even know what
Right.
I just want to feel better.
Right.
I just want to be happy. But what it was about ultimately was figuring out who you really are. What are your core values? What do you really like to do? Like, and then they did, made you do this exercise of like writing all the things down that you love to do or used to love to do. And I remember writing things down like drawing and art and color, because I'm a fine artist. I went to art school.
Oh, yeah. See, so you started to go back, to your original.
Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, I can do all this stuff. And so, you know, I started, you know, so I started to kind of do all those exercises, and it wasn't necessarily like I started to do all those things, but I started to go, oh, this is what it means to get to know yourself again. And somewhere in that process, there was this whole thing about self-image and about liking who you are, your opinion of yourself, and all the false stories we tell ourselves. And one of the things you can do to improve your self-image is to like what you see in the mirror, like physically improve your appearance. So I'm like, oh, I can maybe I'll do that, because the reality is that time I was probably about 20 pounds heavier than I am now. I wasn't really doing anything, right? I was eating my feelings often. And,
that's easy to do.
And I just really just wasn't happy with how I felt. Right.
Right.
And so that is how, you know, color came about. I think it's probably going to be your next question. So if you want, I can just keep on going.
Exactly. So then you made this discovery about color, which fascinates me how you came upon it. And then you made a whole book about it. So that's really, really cool that you could formulate it into something that's, you know, tangible. So what came about? How did you discover this?
So, yeah, and that book, by the way, is a labor of love.
I'll bet.
That was, writing a book is, see, it's a story I had to tell myself. Writing a book was hard, but it wasn't really hard. It was just really hard to put things into words. But
sure.
No, so the color thing. So what happened is that I knew I wanted to look better.
Yeah.
I started to Google, like, you know, I started to search on like style blogs and that kind of a thing. Color analysis and seasonal color analysis kept coming up, and I was like, "Ooh, this is fun," you know. So I did all those quizzes that you see and everything, and I discovered that was a spring. And I think I even bought myself a couple different color fans from different companies and stuff, you know. And I was just fascinated. I was like, "Oh, like these are colors I've never even worn before." And so I remember I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go shopping." So I shopped and I found this blouse. It was a coral pink. It was lighter than this. This is like a really, really bright.
Yeah.
But it was lighter than that. But it was a color. See, here's the thing. I didn't really pay attention to that stuff before. So like wearing a color, like any color when you haven't, is a little scary. And so it seems so silly, because it wasn't like was this bright yellow or something, but it was still something that I never did before. And so I remember going, okay, so I put this color on, I could see the difference already. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really flattering, and I liked it. And so I remember I went to work and I got a lot of compliments that day, and I it feels good to get compliments, and it feels good to be like, I do feel,
Right.
I feel good. I look good. And people say, oh, you shouldn't dress for somebody else. Well, okay, that's true. But when you're really feeling crappy about yourself, it feels good to do something that gets a compliment. So
Oh yeah.
I realized that this is something that I needed for my own self-image and for my own confidence, because and so I started to kind of pursue this more and more. Well, like me, true to my nature, I am an entrepreneur, and I am obsessed with color and art and self-expression, and I didn't really get all the reasons why this was working for me at the time.
Yeah.
But I knew that this was something I wanted to pursue as a business, because I figured that if this was doing so much for me and
Oh
helping
yeah.
me move forward, what if I did this for other people? Like
Right.
how
Yeah.
how
Share
can
it
I
for
help
sure.
someone else that might be going through a different kind of transition in their life? It could be anything, right? Divorce is a common one, but there's all kinds of traumatic things that someone's struggling through, and it may seem small to someone else, but it might be huge for that person. And I just felt like something is so simple as just doing something like wearing a color that makes you feel just a little bit more like yourself. It's such a positive step moving forward. It's just
Yeah.
action being taken in such a
Sure.
simple way.
Yeah.
And it can really help boost your confidence. And so, yeah, so that's how your color style was born. I started out it is actually called, outfit ideas for you, when it was terrible. I know, it's so embarrassing to say it, but that's what the blog was called, and it was all
Yeah.
about seasonal color analysis. And I just was, I started out doing that, and I mean, I studied and I got certified in like 4 different methodologies,
Yeah. Right.
and so that one, what happened is that just got more and more popular. People were signing up, people wanted, and I was blogging all about all this stuff. So anyways, it basically evolved into my my fine artist brain. And really, I wanted to do my own thing.
Yeah.
I liked the process, but it wasn't really resonating with me exactly. And what was happening is that I was getting a lot of women that were going through physical change, like
Mhm.
graying hair,
Yeah.
or they're not 20 anymore. They're 50, and their
Right.
coloring is just completely changed from when they were 20, and their color, what they thought was working, isn't working anymore. They don't know why. And I realized everything that I had been studying at that point really wasn't working for all these women that were getting older.
Right.
And what's where a lot, and women of color. I get a lot of women of color that none of these other systems seem to really address.
Hmm.
And so I decided, okay, then that's what I'm going to do. If I'm going to help the people that kind of are like me, right? 40,
Yeah. Oh
50 and
yeah.
up, that I want to make sure that I'm offering them a service that really is unique for
Hmm.
them. And so that's how your color style came about. And I went back and I did my own color palettes, and evolved a system that's completely online. So I help women all over the world, which is
Yeah. I went online and did it. I
amazing.
went online and did it. It was great. Yeah. It's very easy to figure out at least your initial, palettes, like just the broader stroke. And it does make you think, though. It's funny the thoughts that go through your mind as you're doing it, because you're like, well, part of it is this really my color, or is this how I want to be? Which, fine, then aspire to being brighter or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's things in your mind that switch when you're talking about color in terms of what you're going to represent yourself with. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it really is, because color is very emotional, right? And
Right.
people,
Yeah.
you put an emotional meaning. Every color we see, we have an emotional definition
I
about,
would
for
say.
whatever the reason is, right? A
Hmm.
story, a dream, a movie, a childhood experience, and it's good or bad. It's just
Yeah.
what it is. And so it's funny, because when people start to decide, oh, I want to find out what my color palette is,
Right.
there, some people are like just excited.
Hmm.
Oh, now I've been given this set of colors that I know look good, and it gives them some confidence, and they go
Right.
off and they do what they're going to do. And there
Yeah.
are other people that get really resistant, because they're starting to put meaning on the color type, which there is no meaning except for it's just what I call it for that set of colors, but people will put meaning on it. So if I say to someone, oh, you know, I think that you would actually look best in some of those more softer muted colors, your coloring is a little bit, you know, has a little bit of, you know, softer colors, and they'll immediately go, but I'm bold and I'm bright and I like to wear bright colors. And I usually say, well, then you should.
Right. Then if you're really, if that's where your mind is, then go there. That's fine.
100%.
But like certain ones that'll be better than others on you, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that people assume that color analysis is some vehicle for me or other analysts to somehow dictate what a person should wear. For me, it's really more about just building up confidence. Yes. So if you really are looking to like feel better about yourself and dress differently and wear color that you've never worn before because you've always defaulted to black or gray, you know, which a lot of people do, the color palette that is recommended for you is just simply a guideline to just give you some confidence that you can go, oh, the experts say that I look really good in tomato red. Okay, I'm gonna try it. And it just gives you the little bit of boost. But that doesn't mean you still can't wear black. It doesn't mean you can't wear that purple that you love. It just means it's just to give you some of that confidence that you can then go and express yourself in whatever wonderful way it is, right? If you want to wear polka dots, wear polka dots, knock yourself out. You know?
Well, and I really think too, there's some people that don't make a choice for themselves all day long, you know, because they're in that mode of giving for some other situation or some other person. And like, that's a conscious choice they can make for themselves. And that's huge. Just to enter into that one aspect of it.
Yeah, you nailed that is such a good point. It's the one thing that you can just give yourself permission just to do an experience just for you, that, like you said, like, because especially if you're the kind of person that's just out there all the time giving, and we do that all the time, we don't even realize that we're doing it, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's just one thing that you can do to make yourself feel a little bit better about yourself, you know, to just reconnect a little bit, like, this is me. This is me. I like this. And what I found is that the women in the Facebook group, that they're all very supportive and they're trying out new colors and stuff. And I've noticed that the ones that have been with me for a while have gotten really comfortable and gotten into their kind of their own color jam, you know, and there's some things that they look really great in, they wear them a lot, they'll try something, you know, and the group's like, that's so nice, but it's not your best.
Oh, but see, they're honest. That's good though.
Yeah, well, that's what the group is, but they're very sweet, and but people want that feedback, but but it's just
nice to have too, because it's the support for your decision.
It's fun. That cracks me up.
I chose this, but okay, let me get another bounce real quick before I go out with it.
The reality is too is that, you know, you don't need someone else's validation if you really don't want it. You can just do whatever you want to do. But I get it when you got people that you're making friends with and stuff, and you want their input. It's totally great. And yes, that group cracks me up.
Yeah, totally. That sounds like fun though. It'd be a fun group.
They're so sweet.
So moving into authentic self, because we were talking a little bit about authenticity at the beginning, and you teach people about, you know, finding their authentic self. So how can people really get in touch? I mean, color is part of it, but that connects to a lot of other things. I'm sure a lot of other factors. What are some things factoring into the authentic self? Yeah.
So authentic self, right? So this is my meaning of authentic self is really being yourself without judgment,
right?
Which is, I think, hard for a lot of people.
Very.
I know very few people who don't put on some sort of, you know, costume, if you will, even if it's close to who they are. It's scary just to be truly who you are, and I get that, but a lot of people are so buried from other things that they've lost themselves. And so how do you get there? How do you go from feeling like I don't like anything, I don't know who I am, to getting closer to that authenticity? And what I have learned over the many years of my life, but no, what I've learned is that it really has a lot to do with finding small moments and pockets of things that you really truly either enjoy doing, love learning about, or really good at.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important, because I think that you should start to acknowledge where it is that I'm really good at that, and where it is that you really want to learn more just because you you want to learn more about that thing, and something that you just are really good, that you really enjoy doing, but maybe you think you're not so good at it, right? And the reason I say that is because a lot of people hold themselves back, and they're like, oh, I really wish that I could paint, but I'm just not good at that. Well, why not? Who said? Like, who cares if you're not going to be the next Van Gogh? But like, if you really enjoy it, you should just do it anyway. And I think that's where I come to that statement of being authentic without judgment. And when I say without judgment, it's your personal judgment on yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Just to let yourself just try something new and to do something. Because I truly believe we all have this creative spirit inside us. And we are so good at just smushing it down. And whenever we feel like we want to do more, we want to be happier, we want these things, we want love, we want acceptance, we want success, and we want a new house or all these things. That is just, your spirit is just screaming to do all those things. And the more that you start to just say, okay, I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to take that at that acting class. I mean, what the hell? Like, or that dance class and, whatever. And you find that you just really enjoy it and you're so glad that you did it. Like, it's just, that's when you start to feel more like you. And nothing feels better than just feeling more like yourself and that, oh, that was fun. I feel like I would really like that, or I was terrible at it, but I still love doing it. And that is, that is living, that is your life. And I think people just hold themselves back a lot because of so many definitions that have been put on them over life, programming that says you're too old to do this, or it's silly to do that, or your butt's too big to wear that, or whatever it is.
Or you're too old to wear that, or you're too this or that, just any of it.
Right. So I always, so one of the things that I've come to is that it's not just about what you're choosing to do. I really believe it has everything to do with how you're doing it. And when I say that, it's like, I love art supplies. I'm looking at a giant pile right now. I have a real problem with art supplies, and I love
my daughter too.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love everything about it. And I have art journals, and I'm a little crazy, but for the longest time, I never had an art journal. In fact, I didn't have an art journal until literally when the pandemic started.
Oh wow, neat though.
So this just sort of is one of those moments where I actually feel more like I'm living what I've been talking about for the last 6 years. Like, it's not that I've always believed in what I've talked about, and I always believe that I've been living and getting, in my own journey, getting there. And it was just funny. I started to art journal, and the difference is for me is that when I put down marks on paper or decide whatever it is that I'm going to draw, I realize that it's me being present and me doing work without judgment. It's just me doing something, and it's fun, and I like it, and and it's just one more step for me feeling like me. And so when things start to feel a little out of control, right? The world is a little bit out of control. It's out of my control. All I can do is just figure out how I'm going to deal with some of the anxiety and the things around me. And I've discovered that I found a new vehicle that I can use now for myself when I just want to be with me, and the things that I like to do. I do other things, like I run. That's another.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, physical fitness or whatever it is. I mean, just getting into it though, and kind of giving yourself some time, to take time for yourself.
Right.
And so it's almost like you have to carve it out sometimes, but I think that that's so helpful.
Oh yeah. Physical movement is just so good. Like, if you're able, get outside and just walk. And if you want to listen to music, listen to music. If you don't want to hear, just be. And that alone can be very healing.
It can be, really, for sure. I just know, like, too, just in my life, dressing with confidence, and or if I had a test in college, just as an example too, like if I had a test in college, I would dress up because it would help me to focus more. It would help me to, I don't know, I felt like if I was buttoned up on the outside, I was going to be buttoned up in here, and it pulled me back together. So I think there's that aspect, and then just the fun aspect of making sure you add back in some of those things that you enjoy, that you got to, sometimes you have to think about it. Like I was a musician for so many years, and then I got into my business life and music fell by the wayside. And then while we've been home during the pandemic, we bought a cajon, we've been playing guitar. My daughter plays guitar. So we've been just doing things more, back in the creative realm. And that's been really nice. I almost think like maybe this pandemic will be some really interesting inventions or new songs or things that people come out with that'll just be,
I
really.
think it's sort of like, I think that it's an interesting time. And,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's also waking people up.
Yeah.
And some of us who have been in autopilot for a little while, right? Because of our businesses, because of our jobs, because of our lives, we just get into autopilot. And like you said, we forget about some of the things that we really enjoy doing. And if you think about it, now that you're like playing your music again and enjoying that time and that creative energy, like there's really no good reason why you didn't do it before, but you just simply didn't, right? Like you could make it work now. Like if things got busier and faster, you would still figure it out, right? And I think that's what's been really, really interesting about this time is for those who, there's just been opportunity now to explore some of that stuff. And I hope that people are like, I really, really do. Like, this is the time to do it. If there's something you've been wanting to learn or do or try, there's less eyes on you at the moment. So why not? Like,
exactly.
do it,
and everybody's in a very, much more relaxed place and a lot less perfectionistic place right now. I feel like everybody's experimenting a little bit. So it's it's a really good time.
Right. But it's funny you said that though, like, cause even like when we dress up, like I will admit to you, like for our interview today, obviously, I did my hair and makeup, put on a thing, and there are times when I don't, right? Like I got my yoga pants on and a t-shirt, hair's ponytail, no makeup. Right. But even so, I'm like, after so many days of that, when I really need to feel productive, like so many things I want to do, I will actually I will go for a run, get the exercise, I will shower, I will put the makeup on, not a lot, but just blow dry my hair and just go,
get a face.
On a real shirt.
Right. Yeah. No, I do that too.
Hey, right. Then I'm also ready for some video on YouTube,
but self-care is, I think, so important. And just, take a few minutes, even if it's just mascara or something, just to kind of bring yourself back to, yourself a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. I have my go-tos. I have my bright color tops. That's easy. And then I have jewelry too. Like jewelry is fun for me. So if we actually get to like go out to like a restaurant, which is always like super exciting now that we can do that. Right. I'm like, I should put earrings on. I'm going to get some earrings.
Right. Oh yeah. I pulled out all my jewelry doing this whole series. I know, it's like, oh my goodness, I can wear things.
I know.
That's been the fun part.
Yeah.
So I know you've talked, a lot about the authentic self, and I wanted to hear a little bit more about confidence too. Some little tricks maybe for people if they're just feeling like they've been knocked down and their confidence is shaken a little bit right now. Like obviously put yourself together, that's a really good part of it. Blow out your hair, like do something, put a manicure on, like get yourself physically together. But there's also confidence in another way. Like what else can they do to build that?
Oh my goodness. I feel like confidence is something that has everything to do with how you're feeling about yourself, right? And really that energy needed to really take on the day. And because confidence, you can define that in a lot of different ways, but for me, it's really that inner strength to do something. Maybe it's something new, or maybe it's to do something better, or merely just to get through that day, for whatever was going on in a person's life.
Whatever that turmoil is,
And so, like you said, like sometimes just starting the day strong is really, in my opinion, one of the best ways to give yourself that boost to say, I got this. I got this. If I can control the first hour of my day, that gives me a little bit of sense of control that I can then go forward. I feel like that has a lot to do with it. That's why when we talk about like, well, dressing up, well, yeah, it does feel good to to like what you see in the mirror, but I also think it's the few things that we can control in our lives, right?
Mhm.
And to know that if you practice owning that morning, taking that time, go for a walk, that exercise that's so needed, that time spent to sort of decide what it is that your intention is for that day.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's, I think, a pivotal thing, setting intention.
it is, and some people don't know what that means, and I really don't think it should be too complicated, because I
No,
used to get
no.
caught up in this, like what should my intention be? It should be good, it should be a good intention, and I realized it doesn't have to be any of those things. It just simply needs to be, it can just be something as simple as, you know what, my intention for today is that I'm not going to let the little things drive me too crazy today, or
Yeah,
maybe,
there's a good one.
right, like, or I'm going to remind myself to be patient today.
Hmm.
My intention is to focus on patience today, or whatever it could
I'm
be.
going to take that breath, when something comes at me. I'm just going to breathe for a
Just gonna
second. Yeah.
breathe, right? Or it could just be, my intention is to be happy today. I'm going to be happy today, and
Hmm.
that's not always easy to do. It's
It's
just
not.
hard.
It's really not. There can be days, especially if your chemistry's off. I had a thyroid removal in 97, so a long time ago.
Hmm.
But I will tell you, when my chemistry was off for those 3 or 4 months after I had the surgery, I had to make an intention.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
because you feel like you're about to die because your body says something's really wrong here. You've just taken
Yeah.
a master gland out of your body. So for months, I had to completely combat the feeling that I was going to have some major catastrophe happen because my body was catastrophizing automatically. So I had to, that book, Girl, Make Your Bed. Have you ever
Yeah.
read?
Yeah.
I had to be like, girl, make your bed. Get up,
Yeah.
make your bed. And my aunt and I, we would go for like a forced walk around the neighborhood, but I was like, I got to get exercise. I just would try to push to get back, get everything resynced. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it made a huge difference, but you do sometimes have to really push your body through that. I mean, you went through that depressed state too. It's challenging.
It
So the
is
mindset is
extremely,
important.
yeah, it's extremely challenging because it's physical too, right? And sometimes you
Yeah. Oh,
just
it
don't
is.
feel like it.
You're
And
wiped out.
I would say two things. One
Yeah.
is, we are so hard on ourselves. And when
Mm-hmm.
we're not feeling or doing or being like we think that we're supposed to be,
Right.
we can be really, really brutal to ourselves. And maybe
Yeah.
that's a form of survival in order to get through something, to push yourself. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I think that it's okay. It's okay if you're not super happy today. It's
Oh, sure.
okay
You can have
if
a
you
day.
just, yeah, everyone's allowed to have a day. It's the worry and the concern is if that
Yeah.
day turns into days and weeks,
Days
and
of
then
it. Right.
going to be self check and go, is this serving me well? Am I living the life that I really want to live?
Right.
Because it's okay to have a day. It's not healthy, in my opinion, only
Right.
that to go too deep and too dark and not help get back out. And the
Right.
second thing I'll say is that I think it's really important to surround yourself with people that truly support you.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Not trying to, they don't want you anywhere. They don't have an expectation of you being anything, just who you
Right.
are, your wacky self, your whatever. But it's just so, so important to be surrounded by people that really get you and support you and love you and just accept you for who you are. And that was a lesson that I had to learn the hard way, I think. I wish
Mhm.
that people really had the courage to separate themselves from the people that make them feel like shit.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah.
and I know that that's complicated sometimes. Sometimes it's not as
It
simple.
is.
It could be your spouse, it could be your
Yeah.
partner, it could be your parents, it could be all kinds of
Mhm.
things. And so it's not so simple. So that's why I used to say, remove them, take them out of your life. But that's not necessarily the solution. But I do think that there is some health and it's giving yourself some space if you can,
Yeah.
so that you're not hearing that negativity and the energy, feeling the energy all the time, and then
Yeah.
finding people that can actually help you. You got to find your tribe. You got to find the people that really help you, lift you up and want you to be happy and want you to be
Well, and
successful in life.
and sometimes I think if you can remove yourself from that negativity, if it's someone you'll never really escape, let's say it's a parent or whatever,
Yeah.
if you can remove yourself from the negativity for a period of time long enough to be able to recognize it very clearly
Yeah.
from that distance, then when you step back into it, you can call it for what it is. But when it's every day, all day, and it's very, you know, it wears you down, and then you have the defenses. But if you go to your corner, get with your tribe, have some fun, build yourself up, get your confidence back, you can enter into some of those situations and be a little bit more circumspect and kind of put the actions in its box, you know. And that gives you that distance that I think really helps you get through it.
Yeah.
And then you can have the relationship back. And sometimes people don't want to give up the relationship because they're like, oh, well, if I cut those ties, they'll go away forever. Well, not necessarily. You can choose though.
Yeah.
How they re-enter, how you re-enter. And so that's like a really crucial part of the confidence thing, you know, is having the ability to say no to it for a while.
You're right.
No,
you're right.
In hand. I'm just not going to be in this situation. I can't, because if your body is telling you that you're worn down, you don't need those things to keep coming at you.
Yeah, I think, and you're right. It's the confidence, it's that courage. It's just that belief in yourself and your opinion of yourself that you need to make sure that you're self-aware and you hear it, and to be conscious enough and awake enough to say, that is not serving me. I don't need to hear that. And what that person's opinion of me is not true.
Oh, exactly. That's the biggest part.
Yes, but it's so easy to, with someone of authority in our lives tells you something, we immediately take it as truth. And my challenge to everyone is to ask the question, is it true? Is it really true?
Is that really true?
Or is it just someone's opinion that you've decided was true? And that can be really unsettling, you know, but when you discover that you've believed something for so long and it may not even be true. Like,
well,
and that can really be transformative too.
Yeah, and if there's a kernel of something in it that you say, well, there is a piece of that I'm doing that maybe I can correct and improve, then great. That's also a confidence builder, because
yes, it is.
You extracted that negative, and then you said, okay, maybe I am bending truth, or maybe I'm doing whatever they're telling you you're doing. The next time you go to do that, you're going to be a little more aware. And that's a benefit of some of that, is that you get to know yourself a little bit, and you say, all right, well, I'm going to try to repair that part of myself if they're calling me out on that, because maybe I am doing something.
Be better, right? Be a better version of you, because like you said, then the more that you do that, the more you like yourself, the better your confidence. It's amazing. It's so easy.
I know, right? Just like being mother.
What's the problem? Why are we talking? I don't understand.
I know, right? None of it's easy, but I mean, that's why I like these conversations though, because I think that they will enable the audience to really, you know, just think about things that they're entering into a little more consciously, because we're at least bringing up, like, maybe look at your relationships, you know, and just think about what they're doing to your confidence and how that affects you.
Absolutely.
I think that's huge. And especially with having been quarantined with people for a while, that you know, that can really wear you down. I think I've seen a lot of it on my mom boards that I'm on. You know, the moms are all like, okay, this is hard.
You're going to kill them.
You used to be at work all the time.
On TV.
You know, so just, you know, think about, you know, how you can have a healthy, like, take a break, have a healthy distance on a day. Now you can at least leave your house. At least it's better than it was.
Yes.
So, like, there's definitely some creative ways I'll come up with to take our space back a little bit. But well, good. So what I want to do, I just want to round out, you have a free gift that you're going to do, which is so fun for our audience. And so there's going to be on this page, there'll be a link to yourcolorstyle.com/thrive. And on that page, Thrive after our conference, obviously, you can access discover your 5 signature colors, right? So give them a little explanation. Tell them a little bit about.
Oh yes, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still going. Oh yeah. So it's a really fun. It's a video-based course online.
Yeah.
And there are, I believe, 5 or maybe 6 lessons total. Each one is about one of your signature colors.
Yeah.
And the great thing about the course is that you don't need to like know your color type in order to really enjoy these colors. These are really more about, again, that creative expression. And it just gives you some tools and some things to think about on how you can wear color just to really express your personality and what you want to say that day. So 5 of them, it's in that course.
Super fun. Yeah, so everybody definitely check that out. Click the link on the page, and you can also find more information, about Jen on the webpage as well on her site. So you can reach out, connect, etc. She has other products and programs there and whatnot. So definitely check that out. And I really want to thank you for being with us today, Jen. It was really fun, great conversation. Hopefully the audience got lots and lots of good nuggets out of what we were talking about. And I want to remind everyone that the 21 days, the Thrive Through Life Change event is going to continue, obviously, with more speakers each day about life change and things we can do to help ourselves come out the other side of these life changes, thriving and with more success, energy, maybe a new and improved vision of yourself and of where you want to go in life. So thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.
So glad you could be with us.